The dating world today is a brutal paradox for men who enter it with genuine intentions. It's not designed to reward sincerity, loyalty, or emotional vulnerability. Instead, it operates on a currency of tension, unpredictability, and emotional power struggles. Good men. Those who believe in honesty, commitment, and selfless love often find themselves discarded, confused, and emotionally drained. They start with open hearts, ready to build something meaningful, only to realize the system is rigged. Against them, women claim to want kindness and devotion, but their attraction is often sparked by something darker: challenge, mystery, and the thrill of the uncertain. A man who gives too much, too soon, becomes predictable, and predictability is the death of desire. When he texts her constantly, prioritizes her above himself, and showers her with unearned affection, she may enjoy it at first, but soon she loses respect for him. His kindness is mistaken for weakness. His devotion is taken for granted. Meanwhile, the man who remains aloof, who withholds his full attention, who makes her work for his approval, he keeps her hooked. It's not because he's a better person, but because he understands the unspoken rules of the game. Modern dating has turned to an emotional marketplace where stability is undervalued and chaos is addictive. Women often rationalize their attraction, saying they want a good man, but their behavior reveals a subconscious pull toward men who embody danger, excitement, or emotional unavailability. The good guy who wears his heart on his sleeve doesn't trigger that primal attraction. Triggers boredom. He becomes the safe option, the backup plan, the man she respects but doesn't crave. This isn't about blaming women. It's about recognizing the harsh reality of human psychology. Desire isn't logical, it's instinctual. A man who is always available, always agreeable, always pouring love into a woman without requiring effort in return is setting himself up for failure. He removes the chase, the tension, the emotional roller coaster that keeps her invested. And without that, she loses interest. The tragedy is that good men, once burned, often harden into something colder. They start to believe that being kind is a liability, that vulnerability is a trap. They either become jaded and withdraw from dating entirely, or they adapt, learning to withhold, to detach, to play the game they never wanted to play. The choice isn't fair, but it's real. Adapt or be left behind. The modern dating world doesn't care about fairness. It rewards those who understand its rules, even if those rules defy decency. The contradiction between what women say they want and what actually excites them lies at the heart of modern dating frustration. Women will openly declare they're seeking a kind, loyal partner, a good man who treats them well. Yet time and again, they find themselves inexplicably drawn to men who exhibit the opposite traits. This isn't hypocrisy, but rather the complex interplay between conscious ideals and subconscious attraction. The qualities women claim to desire in interviews or dating profiles represent their logical preferences, while their actual behavior reveals deeper, more primal drivers of attraction. This paradox stems from evolutionary wiring. For thousands of years, women's survival depended on selecting mates who demonstrated high status and strong genetics, traits often signaled through confidence, unpredictability, and emotional restraint. The modern equivalent manifests as attraction to men who maintain an air of mystery, who don't anxiously seek approval, who seem capable of walking away. When a man is too available, too eager to please, he inadvertently communicates low status, no matter how kind or successful he may actually be. His very willingness to prioritize her becomes the reason she loses interest. The toxic man thrives in this environment because he instinctively understands this dynamic. He withholds validation, creating an addictive cycle of intermittent reinforcement. The good man, believing honesty and transparency are virtues, gives his affection freely and consistently, precisely what extinguishes desire. His mistake isn't being too kind, but failing to recognize that emotional investment must be earned rather than given. Women don't consciously choose to be attracted to this push-pull dynamic any more than men choose which physical traits arouse. Them both are governed by deep biological programming. This creates a cruel irony where the very traits that make a man good relationship, material reliability, emotional availability, clear communication can work against initial attraction. The solution isn't becoming manipulative, but understanding that desire requires tension. A man can be genuinely kind while maintaining personal boundaries, emotionally available without being needy, committed without surrendering his independence. The balance lies in being a man of value who doesn't give that value away indiscriminately. Women don't actually want toxicity. They respond to the confidence and self-assurance that often gets mislabeled as such when taken to extremes. The challenge for good men is developing these traits without losing their integrity. The moment of awakening for a good man comes when he realizes his fundamental mistake. He believed love was about giving, when in reality, it's about value. Heartbreak becomes his harsh but necessary teacher, showing him that unconditional devotion is the fastest way to become disposable. This transformation isn't about becoming cold or manipulative, but about developing the discernment to match his generosity with self-respect. The evolved man learns that his kindness must be a choice, not a reflex, something granted to those who prove worthy rather than wasted on those who would exploit it. This shift begins when he stops seeing relationships as a test of his willingness to sacrifice and starts viewing them as a negotiation of mutual value. He recognizes that endless accommodation doesn't earn love, it invites disrespect. The man who drops everything for a woman teaches her his attention is cheap. The man who maintains his own life and priorities shows his time is valuable. Isn't playing games, it's understanding basic human nature. People cherish what they work for, take for granted what comes to easily. The transformed man develops what might be called conditional openness. He remains capable of deep connection, but only with those who demonstrate equal investment. He replaces neediness with discernment, trading desperate attachment for calm self-assurance. Where he once sought validation through relationships, he now derives confidence from his own purpose. This creates a magnetic paradox. The less he needs a woman's approval, the more naturally it comes. His emotional independence becomes the very quality that makes him desirable. This evolution requires painful honesty. He must confront how his own need to be needed created many of his romantic disappointments. The breakthrough comes when he realizes that withholding isn't about manipulation, but about maintaining self-respect. He stops fearing loss because he knows his worth isn't tied to any single relationship. The result isn't emotional detachment, but rather the ability to connect deeply without surrendering his center. He loves from a place of wholeness rather than lack, making him infinitely more attractive and ultimately more capable of genuine connection. The modern dating landscape operates on invisible rules that most men learn only after repeated failures. These aren't tricks or manipulation tactics, but fundamental psychological principles governing human attraction and power dynamics. The first rule is scarcity. Attention given sparingly holds more value than attention given freely. Who responds immediately to every text, who rearranges his schedule at her whim, who pours affection without reciprocity, teaches her that his energy is infinite and therefore worthless. The wise man understands that restraint creates desire. He's present, but never desperate. Interested, but never orbiting her world. Silence proves more powerful than persuasion in conflicts. When a woman tests boundaries through disrespect, emotional outbursts, or withdrawal, the weak man scrambles to explain, negotiate, or appease. The strong man simply removes his attention, not as punishment, but as a natural consequence. This demonstrates that access to him isn't guaranteed, that his peace isn't negotiable. Women don't respect men they can control. They're drawn to those whose emotional stability remains unshaken by their storms. The man who can comfortably walk away holds all the power. The healthiest relationships form when both parties invest equally. But most men make the critical error of overinvesting early. They plan elaborate dates, share vulnerable emotions, and prioritize her needs before she's earned that privilege. The balanced man lets her prove her interest through action. She initiates plans, remembers details about his life, and matches his energy. This prevents the toxic dynamic where he chases while she evaluates. If she's not pursuing, she's not truly interested, no matter what she claims. Finally, self-respect must be non-negotiable. The moment a man tolerates disrespect, whether through flaky behavior, breadcrumbing, or outright cruelty, he trains her to treat him poorly. Women constantly test men's boundaries, not out of malice, but to assess their strength. The man who maintains clear standards, who walks away the instant they're violated, commands genuine attraction. This isn't about controlling her behavior, but controlling his own tolerance for poor treatment. Ironically, the willingness to lose her is what makes keeping her possible. These principles form the foundation of dating success, not as manipulation, but as self-preservation and mutual respect. The ultimate choice facing modern men isn't between being a villain or a saint. It's between self-mastery and self-destruction. The dating world no longer rewards unconditional surrender to love. It punishes it ruthlessly. A man clinging to outdated romantic ideals that devotion alone will be reciprocated, that vulnerability guarantees intimacy, that sacrifice earns. Loyalty will find himself drained of dignity, resources, and self-worth. The alternative isn't becoming emotionally stunted, but developing the discernment to give only what's matched and deserved. This is the evil the modern era demands, not cruelty, but the unshakable refusal to let anyone exploit your humanity. Men who master this balance achieve something extraordinary. They become what women truly crave beneath all their contradictory claims. Not the predictable nice guy, nor the chaotic bad boy, but the centered man who offers warmth without desperation, tension without obsession, and commitment without surrender. His kindness becomes more impactful because it's selective. Emotions carry weight because they're not freely dispensed. He creates genuine attraction through absence rather than suffocation through presence. This man doesn't manipulate. He simply understands that love flourishes in the space between people. It's not in their enmeshment. For those unwilling to navigate this tightrope, staying single becomes the only sane option. There's profound strength in refusing to participate in a broken system. The man who focuses solely on his purpose, health, and peace often finds women drawn to his indifference yet. He's now equipped to engage on his terms or not at all. This is the final paradox. By becoming capable of walking away forever, you gain the power to connect deeply. The choice isn't really about women. It's about which version of yourself you'll become. Either you develop the evil of self-possession, or you risk the greater evil of self-betrayal. In today's world, there is no middle path.